$1,200, you'd make 55.21% off your $25,900 in that first 12 months. You see that? Not bad. All right. Remember when we had them, I told you there was a car sitting outside the driveway, they see the sign, they pull up, they call, and they want to know the details, how much is it? And we don't know how much it is because we don't know the details of what they're going to be able to pay us. If we had known that they could pay us $400 a month like we assumed, we could have said this. The house costs $59,500. We're going to finance it for you at 7% interest. We're going to amortize that for 30 years. And your payment will be $400 a month. We just simply do it backwards. We're not going to figure out the principal amount first. We're not going to worry about all that. We're going to ask the people how much can they afford to pay. We're going to try to get them in a property that they own on a rent-to-own contract. They have an option to buy that they have for less than they pay in current rent. So it's less than you can pay in rent in most cases. And they get the opportunity to buy it, and they called us. So we have a very high closing ratio once we get them on the phone. Because they're sitting in the driveway, they looked at all the windows, they're calling us, they want the house. And we're going to make it real easy for them to get into that property. So this is what it could have looked like, but of course this is just showing you the math after the fact. The key is we're trying to figure out how much they could pay monthly. Just like if you went to a buy here, pay here car place, and you said, I got $50 a week, they're going to say, pick for me those cars over there. That's what you can have. And pick any one you want, the red one, the blue one, the green one, doesn't matter. They're all that amount. We'll sell you those cars for that amount of money. It's kind of the same thing, although they segregate by amount of monthly payment. We agree that we're going to sell that person that house at as much as they can afford to pay us consistently, but at whatever they can afford to pay. We can make that work. That's the beauty of being able to buy at the bottom and buy at these prices, because you can help people do that. You can still make a great return, and you can help people out. And they can move in. Most of our people move in the properties with 20 to 50% equity day one when they move in. And our investors and ourselves make some great returns. Now this next chart is the same thing as the last. It's the same house, same chart, same rents. Everything's the same except this is a 60-month chart. Remember how once a person moved in and then 12 months later they cashed out? Well, they have a 5-year option in which to do that. Let's assume they cash out at the last possible month. So this is the same house, same deal, same $400. They move in 90 days later, and they pay you rent for 60 months or 5 years. And on that 60th month, they cash out. That's what this is just assuming and showing you that the worst case here, we're out 5 years. You've collected $400 a month, same house, same rent. For 60 months, you collected $24,000 in rent. You see that? You collected $24,000 in rent, and now the option price is $56,600. We give them a little bit of discount off of the original price. Every year it goes down just a little bit to give them credit for some of that rent. So it's $56,600. So the option price in year 5 at $400 a month is $56,600 plus the $24,000 in rent you would collect. The total of $80,600 or 211% return off of your $25,900. Again, if it's $250 a month, $35,400, $15,000 rent, a total of $50,400 or a 94% return in 60 months off of your $25,900. Now let's assume that this is a 30-year chart. Say you never cash out. This is our truth in lending chart. You see that? Truth in lending chart. Anybody have a mortgage? Anybody ever got a mortgage? You go to the bank and you go to the table and they give you a truth in lending statement. And you look at that truth in lending statement and it says, man, I'm borrowing 100 grand but I pay back 300 grand. You know, and you whoa. Well, that's now would you like to be the bank in that situation? It's not so good when it's us, but you'd like to be the bank in that situation. Same thing. This is a 30-year chart. A person moves into a house, same $400, but they just pay you $400 for 30 years. You're going to get a $144,000 return on that property in a period of 30 years. So being the bank has a lot of advantages. It's a 455% return off your $25,900. And remember, the monthly rent determines the option price. So the higher the rent, the higher the option price. And those are fixed. Those are fixed. We don't change those. The 250 is the same, 400 is the same, and 500 is the same, 600 is the same. So they've got fixed. The rent equals an option price. And the option price actually determines the value of the property. You see that? So we let a person tell us what they can afford to pay consistently. And we take that and calculate it through our system by arriving at an option price. Therefore, now we know what something's worth, what someone will pay you for it. That's the correct way to calculate value. That's the correct way to sell stuff. Do you think how many foreclosures do you think there would be if everybody sold every house in America for exactly what everyone can afford to pay for it? Would there ever be a foreclosure? No. Because, especially when it's cheaper than rent everywhere. Usually half of what most areas in rents are. Okay. Here's the synopsis of the story. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's no scheme to it. It's not an investment scheme. It's simple. It's simple. It's simple. We sell real estate. We have houses for sale. We have a limited number of houses over here. If you guys would like to participate and buy from us, that's awesome. We're going to do everything we said we'd do in that slide for $25,900. You're going to pick whichever house you want, and we're going to do every one of those services. But it's simply not a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes about 12 to 18 months on average. So I would have a 12 to 18 month horizon. If it takes a little less, that's awesome. Sometimes it takes a little more. You got to wait a few months. Say it takes 6 months to get a person in the property. Say it takes 6 months to get their credit repaired. Say it takes 6 months to get them a mortgage. It's about a year and a half. Sometimes it's a little less. Sometimes it might be a little more. But 12 to 18 month horizon is a very good horizon to have in this system. But you need to have that. It's not, a lot of times you're going to get a check next month. Many times you will. But not every time, not every house. Okay? 67% of all our properties that we buy are purchased from us by end users under rent-to-own contracts within 90 days. So a lot of people say, how long does it take to get someone in the house? That was the stat we had. We're actually doing a lot better than this stat. The stat's 1 to 2 months old. We are actually doing a little better than that. Now, we are, our end user sales department is doing a very good job. Again, we have waiting lists in several cities, and they are doing a very good job of selling these properties very quickly. Apparently, a lot of people want to buy houses at a little bit down, a little bit per month, at less than rent can be. So this is working very well for us. We want you to always, when you're working with us, to focus on your return, not on your perceived value. For real estate folks in the room, it's always going to be hard. You're always going to want to go backslide and go back into what it is that you think ought to work. And, well, this house used to be this worth this much, so it ought to be now. Let me do some comps and calculations and get some appraisals and figure out how many bedrooms it's got and what side of the street it's on and what color is it. Is it vinyl or aluminum and what kind of picture the roof is and what's it? How many bedrooms it got? Is it a big one bedroom or a small one? And what type part of town is it in? Is that really good? You know, you just got to cool all that stuff. You just got to cool all that real estate stuff. Focus on your return. Let us help you through our system. Do the work. And make it about what you're going to make. Make it about that. Don't get caught up in old school real estate that says, that's a $100,000 house. I'm not selling it for 60 grand. You do that, it's your house. You buy it tonight, it's your house. You can do whatever you want to with it. And we'll let you do that. We'll let you go outside of our system and do whatever you like. But in our system, we're going to ask you to sell that property every time first. When we get a live person that says, hey, I can afford it, I can buy it, I can prove it, and I want it, we're going to sell it to them. Every time. And it's okay if they move in with 20 or 30% equity. And you might just double your money, or triple your money, or make 50 or 60 or 70%. You're going to get a great return. They're going to get a great house at a price they can afford, and that's okay. Everybody can win in this scenario. We don't have to get everything all the time. So let's be careful not to do that. I personally think that's what's wrong with the country right now. I think that's why we're in the mess we're in right now. It's because real estate folks, everybody gets greedy. They want to squeeze every dime out of every deal. And now there's no dimes left. There's no pennies left. It's all the other way. So people can move in. They get a great opportunity on a house. They get some equity. You make some money. I make some money. Everybody's happy. And you know what? The cool thing is we call houses sign holders. Really. They hold a sign that has a number that people call that want to move in. And when they do, they're going to send you a check every month until they get a really big check. So you're going to get a little check until you get a bigger check. And it's just that simple. And everywhere there's a house, you just hang a sign on it and they call you. You know why they call you? Because they want to live there. No, I don't. And you don't. And that's why you should not care. It does not matter where it's at. I guarantee you there's people there. That's what I know. Wherever we have houses, there are people. Okay? And they will want to live in them. Why? Because it's not for sale like every other house on the street, and it's cheaper than rent. Like it's not, so you get to buy